Good evening, Camilla. How are you?
I'm fabulous, Jocelyn. It's so great to be with you.
I'm so happy that you could join me today. Thank you for coming to Confidence Conversations. So, today we have a lot to discuss. You are a respected entrepreneur, an author, and a coach, and your newest book actually just came out not too long ago,
Last
Cracking
week,
the Code. Yes. Nature's Surprising Secrets for Getting Along While Getting Your Way. So I'm super excited to dive into that.
great. I'm
So
ready.
tell me a bit about your journey to cracking the harmony code, because I know that that's something that doesn't happen overnight.
No, probably a 30-year journey.
Yeah.
Oh, where do I begin? When I graduated college, now keep in mind this was sort of at that beginning stages of the women's movement and all the empowerment, which is fantastic. But when I hit the sidewalk with my diploma and my grad studies, I really was thinking that the world owed me something, that I was worthy of being believed, being followed, um, respected, all of those things, which is true, but it didn't. I either did not understand the nuances of that era, or I did and they were wrong.
Yeah.
Who knows? The point is, it did not serve me well for the first 10 years of my professional life. I sort of bounced from job to job, found myself not clicking with my bosses,
Hmm.
um, not respecting some of them, and not feeling appreciated, right? So at that point, after about 10 years, I thought, well, you know what? I'm a smart gal. I'll just start my own business.
Right.
So I branched into entrepreneurship. And you know what? I failed many times. Of course, they say Albert Einstein failed many times too. So I take comfort in that.
Yeah.
I think at least four failed businesses and lots of lost money. And in the process, the most painful was two failed marriages.
Hmm.
I found myself at a certain point, and I'm telling you, they say you have to hit rock bottom to change your life. I was broke, I was disillusioned, and I was alone. And I had to figure out what the heck was going on. And in that time frame of that dark, dark time, and everyone has them, but in that dark time, I was still on the farm. I was raised on a farm, and we'll get into that in terms of my background, I'm sure. But I looked around at all the animals around me, and they were so happy and peaceful, and life for them did not seem as complicated. And it was at that moment I started to crack what I call the harmony code: how you can get along, get what you want, regardless of your station in life. And I made some very deep personal commitments to myself and changes, and they were raw and they were tough, and I won't go into the awful details, but certain things were really painful for me, and I had to suck it up, buttercup, and change how I related to the men in my life, my clients, coworkers, all of that. And I am telling you, that was my come to nature moment, because I really watched how nature did it, and I tried to replicate that. And that set me on the path, finally, to personal success as well as business success. I've it's just miraculous, the turnaround it made for me. And it was, a lot of it was swallowing my ego and my preconceived ideas about myself, and realizing that I was enough
Yeah.
in whatever situation I was in, and each situation was different. So,
Yeah.
in a nutshell, I don't know if that gives you an idea of what was going on, but
That's beautiful. And I thank you for being so transparent and open there. I want to know a bit more about that period of time where you're going from having to tell very hard truths to yourself. I know that we all go through that time, but how do you pull yourself out? What advice do you, because I know that you work with clients who do this.
right, right. I think the realization that each individual in nature that was successful didn't have status or power.
Yeah.
The lowliest of all could still get what they wanted in life. And I went, well, that's, if if they can do it, certainly I can.
Yeah.
um, and and I was, I was really blessed with parents that were very strong and confident. I was raised by, I don't know, I was raised by a father who immigrated as a child from Ireland, and arrived in America at the beginning of the Great Depression.
Mm.
So here they were,
Yeah.
a brand new family with nothing, and the economy crashed. And there's no such thing in a farm girl's life as giving up or saying I can't do it. You got to get back on the horse, or they sell the pony. So, and that's real. So,
Yeah.
so it was a lot of that, but I think realizing that I didn't have to be everything to have everything.
Right.
And it was really, it was so sort of cleansing for me. And I was able to take a breath in life, and just one step at a time from then on out, and learning that giving returns more to you than getting.
Yeah.
And I certainly found that in business, and that's a whole nother, topic. So it was a beautiful raw time, but it was beautiful in the end.
That's awesome. And you talk a bit about how you have to give in order to receive, and how you really need to stay in flow. What does that mean to you? Because I know that people listening, and I've experienced this myself, but I know before you kind of get into the practice of it all, it kind of seems unfathomable that that's how things would work.
Well, when you look at it through the prism of what I figured out in terms of nature's harmony, and how that harmony works in that pyramid,
Yeah.
it does make sense, because there are two basic situations that you'll find yourself in life. You're either in a situational advantage where you have legitimate power and authority and resources, or you're not.
Yeah.
There's no in between. You're either a leader or you're in the follower position, and you can't think of that as a bad thing. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
And in nature, the ones that are not leaders achieve what they want by building alliances and friendships with those with the power. And that's what's happening when you're giving to. So for example, there's a fantastic book that I really love in terms of business and sales. It's part of the Go Giver series. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's called Go Givers Sell More. And it talks about how that spirit of giving and selflessness to others, that when you think about it, when you're in business, who has the power? Not you. It's the person with the money that you want them to spend with you. Your clients have the power. And so that spirit of giving to them and not being the boss of them, being generous and forthcoming and helpful, and developing a partnership, they will open their wallets to you without you even asking. You don't have to ask to close the deal. They're throwing money at you when they trust you, they like you, and you have been giving to them. And that's similar to a relationship, a personal relationship, where you don't really have legitimate power over them. If you realize that the more you contribute to them and their own success and help them and develop an alliance and help them realize how important you are to them, how you can help them be even greater, then when you make the little ask about what you want, they're much more likely to say yes to someone they consider their friend or their ally. Yes. And it really gets down to that, relationships. It's not a cut and dried formula in terms of success, at least in my experience.
And you have that in your harmony pyramid, that the first tier, right, is trust. It's building that trust. And you can't have any successful relationship, you can't generate a sale if there is no trust. So how do you go about building trust in a position where maybe life has beaten you down, or maybe people don't know who you are? Like, trust is kind of hard to gain, right?
Well, once you've lost it, it's hard to regain it. But what I found was the biggest element in gaining trust was honesty. Mm-hmm. Even when it hurts, even when it's embarrassing. Honest about your own shortcomings, specifically. And in business, being fully transparent, even when you think you're not going to look so good. I'm telling you, that makes people trust you. And they realize that, well, if you're going to be transparent about that, then I can, for me, in my brick and mortar business, which we haven't explained yet, but I do a 5-star dog boarding and training facility. I'm taking people's precious pets and I'm taking care of them. And they have to trust me to give me their precious pooch. But when I'm really honest with them about things that happen, a cold that goes around or whatever, or little buddy had an upset stomach 2 nights ago or last night. He's not leaving for 3 weeks. I'm sure he'll be fine by the time he leaves, but I need to tell them that that's what happened. So they go, oh, well, thank you for telling me. That's really honest of you. And gosh, I trust you. But being honest with your partner about things, don't keep secrets. It's really easy to say and it's hard to do. Mm-hmm. That honesty is everything in trust. I'm telling you, everything.
Yeah, and I've even experienced it in my own life. You had a come to nature moment. I had my come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
And I made a commitment to just be transparent, which is it's easier said than done when things are not rosy and pretty. Yeah, anyone who's gone through it knows, but it also is very liberating to live in a space of trust and transparency, because then there are no secrets. There's nothing you have to hide. There's nothing you have to remember or cover up. And you're able to really, like you said, build that core value of a really meaningful relationship and go from there. Absolutely. And that relationship starts with yourself. You have to be honest and transparent with yourself and kind of peeling back the layers so that you can be open with yourself and then begin to do that with others.
And what I find is it's okay not to be perfect, and it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong.
We're all wrong. We just have to accept that. Exactly. We have to humanize that part of the human experience. And once we do, it becomes so much more comfortable to be in our skin.
Yeah. But honesty is huge with ourselves, with our partners, with our coworkers, with our family, everything. Yeah.
and honesty is huge with pets. So I want to talk about your second business and what you spend most of your day doing.
Well, it was probably my fifth business that finally succeeded once I realized what life was about in the Harmony Code. I spend my life a lot of my life right now is coaching women in leadership and success, because really, when I started my dog business, it wasn't about training dogs. It was about teaching women how to be empowered in their life, and the platform was their dog.
Mm.
Because if you can learn how to communicate effectively with that animal, stop yelling, stop getting frustrated, stop being over accommodating and too wishy-washy, then you can learn how to raise a child. You can learn how to be a good employee. You can learn how to be a good boss. And when you train a dog that doesn't think he needs to be trained,
Mm-hmm.
you can also learn to be a good wife and partner. I'm serious. No, I'm serious.
Oh, I know. It's so funny that that's what you said, because I was like, huh, it seems like this would be good for relationships too. And that's exactly where you ended it.
That's where I've gone now with my career. Yes, I still do the dog counseling and the leadership training for women with the dogs, but I also now do it just with each other. And so what I tried to do in the book you just referenced that I just released was I have chapters on how to use this awareness at work, if you're a boss or if you're an employee, with your kids and with your partners and spouses. So because we're all at our core, we're the same animal.
Yeah.
We have the same instincts, because honestly, most of our behaviors as human beings has an emotional core, not an intellectual one. Yeah. And what are emotions? They're basically the result of our instincts. Fear, jealousy, pride, power. Those are all instincts. But you can see when you look at human relations and human activity, and just watch the news any day, and you can understand the incredible effect that instinct and emotion has on how we think about things, what we do, how we react. It's stunning, really. And understanding human beings as the emotional beings that they are, and not expecting them to be logical or rational, changes how we can relate to each other. They're not bad people. They just have certain instincts that are being tweaked. So
it's amazing that you say that, just because I've kind of noticed when you take a step back and really do the work on yourself, right? You kind of notice how you respond to certain things, why you engage in certain ways. Why was that my response? And then you're able to see the same in others. You're able to appreciate other human beings, regardless of whether or not you're on the same page, because you understand those instincts, those impulses, and you have so much more respect for that because you're able to be empathetic.
Tolerance.
Yes.
Tolerance and empathy for other people. Really, honestly, when you think about it, isn't that the beginning of harmony? I mean, if you react and you jump to conclusions, which is another instinct, by the way, yeah. It helps you once you understand why someone is doing something, why your husband, doesn't tell you about his expenses on the side, why your kids don't follow through, or why they talk back, or why people gossip at work and you can't control it. They're not bad people. Those are all related to instincts. And interestingly enough, the instincts in us are all related to survival. That's why they are so deep.
I'd love for you to talk a bit more about that, especially in relation to some of the instincts that we see every day, like the gossiping or things that occur that we wouldn't naturally equate to survival.
That's right. So let's talk about gossip. All right.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Think about this. Um, and gossip being more of a evolution into human behavior, because dogs don't really gossip, but they are aware of what's going on. So the ones that are most aware of all the intricacies going on, that are several steps away from the here and now, things that might be coming down the pike or whatever, those people would have an advantage if they heard about something somewhere that could affect where they are, who they are, where they live. So gossip was more of a trend spotting behavior, right? It was the early news of eons ago, the CNN of the early man. But all joking aside, I mean, we are driven to sort of notice and talk about and have the inside grapevine, because that inside grapevine might give us an advantage. And in the early days, that advantage was survival. So isn't that interesting? Yeah.
It's very interesting. And now I'd like to talk a bit about how we go from being overlooked to being respected and taken seriously, because I know that that's something that you are a master of.
I think finding your own talent, specialty, the thing that you really enjoy doing, something that you enjoy doing. And I try to do this with my own staff. I try to figure out, and when you have a small staff, 20 is a small staff, so you're able to know everybody individually. Getting to know them and what they're good at. Some people are really good at numbers and details, and others are good at the big picture or art or whatever, and helping them and themselves realize what they're good at and help them develop those skills to an advantage in a business is really good. But if you have our own, like, I'm really good at the big picture of branding. I think get a brand and an emotional message that could connect with people, then that's where my talents are. And so I would then think about a little project that I might offer to do for my boss, let's say at work. That would be something I would enjoy, that I would be good at, and that would make him or her look good, right? Because by association, I'm going to look good too, right? And I'm going to become more valuable as an asset to that boss. Those kinds of, everybody has a talent. We do. Everybody has something. There's lots of things I'm really not good at, but there's certain things that I am, and I enjoy it. And that's how you could stop being overlooked. The other thing is just to be expect less that someone's going to just notice you for what you are because you're fabulous. Do something that highlights the fact that you're fabulous. And because being noticed is not just going to happen. You need to take a little action. You need to do a little something to sort of get noticed in the right kind of way. But that's basically it. It's the little steps. They don't have to be big, just the little steps. And we can all do little things. You don't have to be super confident. Yeah. You just don't. Just a little thing, a little gesture here and there, to become less overlooked and more noticed. And also not take it too personally if you feel you're being overlooked, because you may not be. You may not be at all. It could be all in your mind. That happens sometimes too. We're too thin-skinned.
Yeah, and I think that that's why it's so important to be able to communicate effectively, so that when you do have those feelings, you're able to ask about them and see, is this just something that's going on in my mind, or is this something that's valid? And be able to work and grow from there. And like you said, take those little steps, one day at a time, one moment at a time, to become the woman that you'd like to be. And I love that you stated that you don't have to make some grand gesture, because oftentimes we think that we have to do some, you know, crazy act, some big thing to get people to notice us. And it's really one day at a time. How can I be consistent? How can
Yes.
I add value on a daily basis and do it in a way that makes me happy so that it's true?
Honestly, I think the consistency of small steps consistently followed each day, each week, are what really ring truest to someone watching you. They see you as dependably great at certain things. And honestly, the grand gestures are often passed off and sort of eschewed because they're not as honest usually as the subtle, tried and true dependability, um, and always making somebody else look good is a fabulous way to become valued and appreciated.
And that really goes back to the point that you made earlier about the flow of giving before you can receive. And you just pour in, you continue to pour into that cup of gratitude and generosity, and you get so much more back in return. So it really comes full circle.
It does indeed, because when you think about it in life, very few situations do you have authority. You're a parent or a boss. I don't know anything else that makes you have authority. So most of our relationships are situationally disadvantaged, not advantaged. And that's really where you need to live most of the time. And I love that you use the word gratitude, because one thing that I teach that changes your life from about me to give is to live in a state of gratitude.
Yeah.
Live there. A constantly gratitude, appreciation, realizing that all this doesn't happen because of you. You know,
Yeah.
you're really you're benefited so much by other people and your clients and your friends, and just constantly being grateful yourself and then expressing your gratitude. And I really think, what I try to do in the mornings, in that time before you wake up and you get up, that's when I started to do my meditation thing. I call meditation, I don't know. But I try to lie there and I say my thanks. I say my thanks for all the good things that have happened in my life that I hope will happen that day. And I really just ask for guidance on how I can help others this day. And just that thanks, that gratitude every day that sort of centers me, can center us. And I think that's also a valuable part of being who you are, owning your own self, whatever it is, and just taking that breath and taking that next step, however small you need it to be. It doesn't matter. The smaller the better, actually, sometimes.
And sometimes we have to take a step back and realize it can be a grand gesture just to wake up in the morning and get in the shower, depending on where you are in life. And so being grateful for all of those moments where you're able to be and you're able to take a step forward. I think sometimes even more than what steps do I have to take to be successful, just what steps do I have to take to exist? Because sometimes that's the hard part. How do I keep going when it feels like life is coming against me? And I would never, ever discount any of the small things that you do, from getting out of bed to taking a shower to making a meal to driving to work. Those are all huge, especially depending on where you are. So be grateful for your ability to do
For
all of
your,
those
yes,
things.
for your ability to do that. Yes, because not everyone is that lucky, you know. Definitely.
No,
Love
you,
yourself.
yeah, love yourself. And I know that you are a very loving leader and you lead with confidence. Now, I'd like to hear from you. What is the intersection between leadership and confidence, and how do you navigate that line?
Hmm. Intersection between leadership and confidence. Well, I think you have to have enough confidence to be a leader, because for a leader to be believed and to be followed, there has to be confidence in that person. Confidence that what you're about to do or say may not be perfect, but put it out there.
Yeah,
And to realize that, to always have your radar out to the people to whom you're speaking, the people whom you are leading, to understand them as individuals and not as logical little machines, because they're not. And certain things that you want to say or do could be very logical and very you know make a lot of sense,
hmm,
but things that make sense logically are not necessarily received emotionally. That a lot of this talk about emotional intelligence and all that, really all that is being aware of instinct and how instincts affect emotion and people and how they respond to what you say and what you do. And knowing the individual that you're speaking with or leading almost gives you the confidence to speak with them, because you trust them, they trust you. And but in nature, the only leader that is followed is a leader that is confident, that is unafraid to lead from the front. And that's actually an oxymoron, because leading is being in front, isn't it? um, and that little bit of confidence is inspirational, because in nature, the true alphas, the true leaders in nature are, they the others follow them almost blindly, because they need that confidence. They say, well, nothing bad is going to happen, because they don't think it is, and
right.
we can follow them because they're confident. The women's kryptonite. I don't know if have I mentioned that. There's three elements that weaken us, just like kryptonite weakens Superman. And one of them is um, accommodation. So if you're in a leader position, don't be afraid to make your rules, set your boundaries and your expectations, and don't be wishy-washy. Don't be wishy-washy. Don't vacillate. Don't say, well, never mind. Well, that's okay. And change your mind. Changing your mind and wishy-washy, that's not confidence. And that's sort of accommodating others. Accommodation is a sign of weakness, not strength. And you can enforce your rules compassionately, fairly. Doesn't have to be with any um, anger or intimidation, because honestly, that's how nature's leaders work too. They're very calm and they're very matter of fact. Um, but being too emotional reactivity is also in nature a sign of weakness. So try to keep your negative emotions sort of, just sort of, you might feel them inside, but you want to fake it till you make it, and all that kind of thing. And just stay calm and carry on. Those things are a sign of true leadership. Leadership is not scary, it's not intimidating, it's just fair and friendly, yet firm.
We talked a bit about the intersection between leadership and confidence. I want to know what confidence really means to you.
What does confidence mean to me? it's not doubting yourself. I mean, that's easy to say and it's harder to do, but it's a belief that, first of all, that you are enough, and that everything is fixable if you make a mistake, right? But that you've weighed all your options. You've chosen a path or a choice of words or a goal for your team that is that's doable, that is sensitive to them, and that can sort of pique their own little instincts. You know, we have an instinct to be great or important or be appreciated, and sometimes, you know, playing on that, a little reward system or whatever, just whatever you're doing, make sure it's consistent with the instincts in your people that that are natural, and that what you've chosen to do is not likely to clash with the inner animal. But knowing that you can be honest if what your goal is not turning out the way you thought it would, or you can always be honest and say, you know what, that was a really bad idea. Let's go back and try something again. That's okay. As a matter of fact, that's good. But some sort of confidence to lead is imperative. It must be there. Even if you have to, like I say, fake it till you make it. Don't be wishy-washy. Don't second guess yourself. Take the time to make a good decision and then own it and go forward with it.
Yeah, and I think when you have that, being confident in your decisions and just going with them, and then the honesty piece where you can step back and say down the road, maybe that wasn't a good idea, but you're able to own it and say that to your team.
Yep.
That's confidence. You
It
have
is.
to be confident to own a mistake, because it takes so much to say, I was wrong. It takes so much to say, we can do better.
And believe me, I have made a lot of mistakes. So if I can make as many mistakes as I've made and still end up where I am with an incredible business and success and happiness, then anyone can, because I've made some doozies.
And you're truly an inspiration just in the way that you speak and in all of the business that you've been able to bring success and light into. So for the audience, tell us about all of the different businesses that you're engaged in, and how can they follow you? How can they find you and hire you?
Well, of course, my brick and mortar is still my dog training and leadership training for women. And I specialize in women because it's different for women. And it teaches them how, without the advantage of masculinity, they can lead successfully the four-legged animal in their life. And then on the side, I coach women about the two-legged animals in their lives, whether they're kids or coworkers or employees, whatever. Because again, we're all kind of the same. So I do my dog training business, but then my CamillaGray-Nelson.com is a whole separate business that deals just with the relationships of people to people. So my tagline on CamillaGray-Nelson.com is nature's wisdom for today's woman. And I have blogs on there about, you know, why kids are obsessed with selfies and a new way to deal with bullying. Or I'll have blogs on there about secrets to a happy marriage, take turns driving. Or I will have just all manner of things. And right now, you know, I'm really busy promoting my book, Cracking the Harmony Code, because it holds these secrets for everyone who struggles to be taken seriously, to have successful relationships, to get ahead at work, and they feel like, well, I don't have any power or rank, so I'm stuck here forever. You're not stuck there. Nature has built in success paths. You just have to know how to access them, and that's so gratifying for me right now. I feel like that's how I'm going to leave the world a better place. And we all get to that point in our lives. Well, most of us do, where we really step back and go, hey, I don't want to just be here sucking up air and taking up space. I need to do something to make this world better before I leave. So I've been working on that for about 30 years now. So it was such fun.
You guys have to check out the website. There are so many articles I loved your leadership ones. There's one about manners. Like you just have to go and check it out. She has an awesome Pinterest page. And if you're looking to buy the book, it's available on Amazon for $16.95. So you don't want to miss out. Thank you
so it?
Yes, please show it.
Cracking the harmony code.
So get your copy today and learn how to be more aware and how to crack the code.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining Confidence Conversations.
Such a pleasure. Thank you, Jocelyn. It's really been an honor.